Here we are.
Must do the
We are.
Here we are. Hi, everybody.
Flow of it.
In the flow of it.
There we go.
There we go.
Should we talk about weekly or wait for that?
What
Let's
about
start with
we do like a online, like asking a poll where
Okay.
we're all connected on our calendars and see what
Yeah.
could work. I feel it could be a good opportunity to do two, so that maybe we record or put out only one out of two. And
Mm-hmm.
potentially, just to give us, we can record all of them, but just to give us the opportunity to share some really personal stuff and just fake and talk like we're super serious because we think.
Okay, let's do this. If we are satisfied on the end of the call, if you are satisfied, we will give a thumb
Yeah.
up. That means
It's good to go.
yes,
Yeah.
it's good to go, and
Yeah.
thumb down would be no, please don't. But
I think we've always and to just add on to that, I think we always sort of worked with the thing. If anybody ever has a problem, we'll put it aside.
Yeah.
So I would just to default to say we're going to post it unless somebody asks not to.
Yeah.
Yeah.
no, if just one person has a problem, we will ignore that. It doesn't make sense that we don't have a consensus if one person is in a mood that day.
Well, Miro, I will put in my proxy for that. If anybody ever has a problem with it, I will vote with them.
I will vote with them too.
Okay, we're gonna get on the other side.
except if it's
I
Miro
will
who has a problem with it.
I will end up.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Miro's got a problem. No, we're posting it. Yeah, we're just gonna post it. And I think this is one of those things that I don't think is going to come up a lot.
Yeah.
Because I also think, Gail, and I, we obviously know what you're referring to, it's specifically, and I do think that there is a way and a place and a space, and I think once we're in it, that will allow us to kind of go there and communicate in a way that still works. And if not, then we'll just vote with you.
Dean will.
I'm with you. Miro's out, but
let's stumble up on the situation first, then think of solutions. We are
absolutely
talking too much about something that is so
theoretical.
right
now. Oh, I love that.
Miro
Thank you so much.
Yeah,
that's good. That's good. Thank you.
We don't go to that place.
Who wants to bring a subject first?
Who wants to be what?
Who wants to bring a subject first?
I have actually something.
Mm-hmm.
It's around the topic of parenting, and we talked a little bit about that already. And I just referring to a situation that just occurred today and a couple of days ago already. And I'm looking with my kids, and particularly now with my son, who is 12, at a way to, how shall I put it, to infuse, to sort of share with him some values, and at the same time, be as sort of much space as possible for him to figure it out by himself, right? Mm-hmm. And I'm just, I know it's a broad topic, and, had specific situations now with some football training that he normally goes to twice a week physically. And then now, because of a lot of Corona cases, whatever, they've chosen for 10 days to just, stop the trainings, and they're doing online units. And not
this
as much
is for football?
Yeah.
Not soccer? Okay.
Yeah, soccer. Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Okay.
That's the way we call it here.
So you're soccer mom, huh?
Yes. I am not. I am so not. I have no clue. Nothing.
No,
I'm
you
like,
are. No, you totally
You
are.
are.
And the former athletic director in me wants to know what are online courses you're doing around football / soccer.
So they do. They manage to put together some sort of athletic exercises, and so they show that on the Zoom, and then the kids are just doing it at home. And
Okay.
I mean, it did take the kids through about 3 months last year of no real training possible, and of course it's not great, and it's just it's an alternative. And I totally get it, so my son was like, Mom, it's so boring. I don't want to do this. And then, starts to come up with, my knee hurts and this happens and I have lots of homework and stuff like this. And I sort of course, hear that I'm not saying his knee doesn't hurt or he doesn't have lots of homework to do. And I'm also hearing that this is, it's practical, basically. It fits nicely to, the fact he doesn't want to do the training. And somehow he's asking for my blessing to just, say it's okay, you don't have to do it. And of course I have my point of view about it, which is that the trainers are doing their best to to keep the team together in this time and to still offer something, and it's not fun for them if half of the kids don't show up. And so I share that with him, and at the same time he was like, yeah, but you don't believe me, my knee really hurts. Do you prefer me to to do the training or to have my knee totally broken for 2 years? And I'm like, is it really that's going to happen, that your knee is going to be broken for 2 years if you do this? And he's like, yeah, like really adamant. And then at some point I'm like, okay, no, just you choose. You heard what I believe would be a good thing to do, because I think it's it's honoring of your team and of your trainers and of everybody who's putting some effort in that, and go ahead and choose. And I would love in that moment to be really able to be that space of really go ahead and choose. And of course I am not fully. I have so now he just started next room. He has chosen to go ahead and do it, but I don't believe, and I'm not 100% sure that for which reason is he doing this. Is he really choosing it himself, or is he just sort of thinking that I made him feel guilty enough, and that's really not what I want. But still, it's I know that from my parents, of course, and I just wonder was wondering what experience you have around that, the ones of you who are parents, or in general as well. We all have some insights on this kind of things, having been a child of some parents in the past as well. So yeah, just wanted to get some.
My daughter is almost 5, and she goes on some kind of training there in kindergarten two times a week. And just today I talked with Yelena, her mother, about that, and Krista for last 2 weeks she's not willing to go to train again, because she would like to be with her girls, in a kindergarten. And we talked about that, and Elena said that she's okay that Krista stops going there, because we are every day, whenever is beautiful weather allows, we go out and be in a park a lot. So she doesn't lack activity. So we're good with that, So how old is your son, Marie?
I was going to ask that question.
Yeah, he's 12.
12. How sincere, how determined he is about his game, actually?
He is. He totally surprised me with, he started pretty late and had it wasn't easy when he started, because he got in a team that, of his age, except, much with a much better level than he had, because he had never done any before. And at first I was like, oh my God, I was like, having pain for him. And it's what we do as mothers, I suppose. Not necessarily a smart choice, but hey. And so I was totally like, I was totally willing to have him say, hey, this is too much, I don't want to do this, and never wanted to push him, except that he's, really, he was so determined. He so wanted this, and, has gone, even though it was not easy at the beginning, he just was at it, and he's, the one of the few kids that really will always inform the trainer when he doesn't come. And I mean, he is very motivated, and he loves it. It's not the best, but he loves it.
How about that you two, he and you, find out the way how he can improve his game, but not to do those stupid trainings that he doesn't like, that will make him more into the game. And that could be maybe some individual coaching, one-on-one with a trainer, or he can do some exercises and drills, a lot of them actually, on his own, but that will keep him going. And if you want him to be active and in sport, you can say motivate him with this kind of training on his own, like saying that he can get better than his classmates because they don't do what he is willing to do for his game, like they're exercising over Zoom, and you go and do the drills and getting better in your skills. So some kind of mix of that, because we cannot choose situation right now. A lot of things are happening, and we cannot influence a lot on a lot of that, but we can do the best possible. I had talked with my nephew a few weeks ago about that. He is 15, almost 15, and he is into basketball as well. So I said to him the same thing: keep going, you will improve your game, and when the situation gets back and be normal or normal again, you will get a lot from that, and you will be better than the guys who don't do.
I mean, thank you. I totally hear that, and it makes total sense. I think what I was also looking at is the sort of that's one example, right, of a situation where he wants to do something. I'm getting, hey, are you sure? And then I like I said, I want to sort of share some values with him and teach him some some sense of, hey, this is boring and I hate doing it, and I'm still going to do it, because
that's awesome way to ask him to decide and to challenge his will to do things. Make things a little bit harder for him, just just so you can tell, is he willing to do the job, the work.
It's funny you bring in this topic, because it's actually a sort of topic that I wanted to bring up too, on how do we deal with, like, we all have this social self that is thinking about what other people think, that needs to fit. When you share your belief about, well, like, if you thought about your teachers, like, putting this training online, like, if nobody shows up, like, it's sad for them. And so this is like the social skills that you're trying to teach him, because it's important in a life to fit. Because if we're like rejected by everyone, or like two weirdos, too much of, not social enough, then life is a little hard. So you were like sharing this side, but also how, as a man, to recognize his inner core self, his essential self, that is really bored to death with those Zoom call. And this is why it's expressing with, I have a knee injury, like somehow I have so much homework, like this is his inner self, almost like intuition that cannot talk, but that wants to be heard and recognized. And that is like, no, fuck those calls, like I'm not doing it. And so I feel the whole challenge on how, as parents, we help them and teach them those social skills to fit in, and to also take in account that some people make efforts or that do things, but also always recognize our inner self and trust it, because then if we lose complete touch with that core essence self, then we just lose our guidance or inner compass that is telling us what to do later in life. And like, I'm, one of my clients right now is challenged with the fact that he's never been heard or felt safe, his essential self, to express. So he always fit in and had to do what's right. And on the social aspect, because his parents, it was really important for them to, that he's recognized and he's successful and he's the last in the family name and whatever, like, so it's so important. But then at 40, he has no idea how to listen to this inner self. And so as parents, it's so important to teach them. And so personally, what I would do because I'm faced with this often, like they're younger, they're 7 and 5, but when I can see that they're just like, no way, like, but also I want them to push a little bit, your ABCs, it's important. I know, and you really don't want to do it, and so I have them express why they feel they don't want to do it. So for example, like they hate schoolwork. Like each time I ask them, like, what's the best thing at school, like, you do, is like, well, eating. I'm like, okay. And driving back home, okay. And yeah, they just hate it. Like they're like, Mom, I'm sitting. And so then I'm like, why is it that you don't like it? And to listen to this inner self. And so for your kid, like expressing, so why do you don't feel like doing the Zoom? And he might express like, well, because like it's harder, like I feel I'm doing that, like whatever he says. So he's heard, and I think it's super important. And then to reflect, I totally get it. Like I would be in your situation, I would feel the same. And as a parent, I need to also tell you that there's a social aspect of just for you to take your decision, because you're grown up, you only 12, but I trust that you know what to do, and decide for yourself. And in this situation, I want you to also consider something that you haven't maybe thought of outside of your like inside, is that they put a training and they did some efforts. They're really trying to help. But if you really feel that this is not helping you, what Mira says, like, what is it that you want with circle? Like, do you want to get better? Do you want to like, and can we find maybe another way that feels more motivating? And I feel for him juggling with like the social aspect of, yes, sometimes we do have to say yes to things that really suck, but it's so important to be heard and to know that our inner self sometimes is against it, and that we'll recognize that it's not just we need to shut it down. And then you take, as a grown-up, you take a decision considering both. And
yeah, cool.
And finally, when you have to do something that you don't like, find one thing or 5 things that you can get from that. You can improve your focus. You can improve your inner talk. You can find a way how to ignore things that you don't like. Find a way to be creative and get something good from that. So with time, you're gonna start to enjoy with all the skills that you express and exercise at doing something that you have to do, because our life is not just rainbows and unicorns. We wish it would be like that, but it isn't, and that makes us weak. Things that are hard make us stronger. So find a way from everything to get stronger. Whatever happens, whatever you have to do in your life, find a way that for that to make you stronger.
I come from obviously a slightly different place, having no little ones running around, but I was an
Being a
athletic
coach.
I was an athletic
Exactly,
director,
yeah. Mhm.
and I taught coaches how to coach. And
Cool.
I've also spoken to teams about their roles. So I'm going to bring slightly a different thing.
Thank you. Yeah.
To me, the first, and not just from that standpoint, obviously it's sort of intermeshed. The first thing is, if someone says they're bored, to me, that's a depth issue. Right. And so I understand listening to the kid and so forth, but as the adults, they often don't know how to communicate the issues in such a way. And so, but boredom is, this is all surface. I want deeper. I want more. It's a request for more, right? And this is boring and it's not feeding me enough. And so just put that out there, and I'll kind of circle back to it. Another thing you sort of mentioned, a bigger picture approach, not just this issue, but how do I have these conversations with my child and allow them to be them and me to not dictate or push them to a certain place? Well, I will tell you a quick story. When I was the oldest of four and my father had died, so like on the day of my 16th birthday, my mother took me down. I got my driver's license. We had an extra car. I then became schlepping the other kids around and doing that. And also got to the age where there were parties and other things that were going on. And my mother's rule, and I had friends that were like, you have to be home by midnight, and had a curfews and so forth. And my mother said, listen, I'm not going to give you a curfew. I don't want you to race home drunk and speeding to beat a time clock. And then we get into the question, well, I was in the driveway by the curfew and blah, blah, just all of this semantics, and create a rule that we don't need. She said, I have two rules for you. Don't drive until you're sober, and come home at a reasonable time. Okay. What that did was put all the onus on me. Mm-hmm. It put me in charge of what I'm doing and me making responsible decisions. And she also said years later, you realize, of course, that the reasonable time you chose was always way earlier than the reasonable time I would have chosen. Right. And I'm like, oh, rats. Why didn't you just give me a curfew? Right. And so, the thing that I want to sort of say around the football is that when I talk to teams, and I most recently talked to a high school boys and girls swim team about this, and Gail knows this is a place where I bubble. I get the goosies and I get all excited about it. But when I talk to them, I talk about three roles you have, and part of this is the genesis. I was an assistant athletic director at like a top 10 academic school in the country. Like it's on that list, or in a bigger version of that list. Jared's here. And what I looked at was, what do athletics bring a kid that they don't learn? Hi, Jared. That doesn't, thank you. They don't get from English class or from art class. And one of that is some kids are more kinesthetic, right? They move their body. They aren't artists, or they're musicians, or even great at English. And so that's one of them. But there is also, when you're in English class, you're responsible for you and the paper you turn in. When you're a member of a team, you have a bigger responsibility than just you. And you also, you learn to be a peer leader. You learn that you have a responsibility outside yourself. You learn to sometimes suck up a thing that you don't like for the good of something else. These are all lessons that, as parents, coaches, administrators, we can communicate to these athletes. And so the three that I communicate generally are that you have a responsibility to you and improve you and working hard. You have a responsibility to a team and the role that the coach gives you, the position, and to fulfill that to the best of your ability. But you also have a third, is the responsibility to your teammates, to push them and to bring your best every practice so the team as a whole meshes together and is greater than the sum of its parts. And so if he's saying, this is boring. Well, first of all, I lay that on the coach and the circumstance, and really the circumstances, right?
Yeah.
But trust me, if they were my team, we would have a competition, right? I want to know who's juggled the ball the more times, right? Kids, and in this place, and part of the learning in this space is competition, but to do it in a joyful manner, not trying to, stick it to somebody else, but to be your best. The competition is with yourself. And as Miro is talking, it's all about growing stronger and pressing against those fears, boundaries, issues, needs. And this is what that competition about is, because, as a swimmer, as a baseball player, as a tennis player, whatever, golf, any sports that I've done, it's about what is my personal best and judging myself based on that. And did I give my best? Did I achieve my best? And so one of the things I've always found for teams is to create a competition and to compete against yourself. Now, if his coaches aren't doing that, that's something you can do. But I would ask him questions like, do you want to be part of this team? Well, and the coach wants everybody to come to these meetings. What do you think he's going to say to somebody that doesn't show up to them? What will the outcome of that be? That action will bring what? How will you feel if that happens? Who will you blame if that happens? What could you do instead? How could you make this situation more fun? How about if we go out and I'll count how many times you juggle the ball, right? Or maybe you can get your 3 buddies and see who can juggle it the most times. And so rather, we can't, you can't just let a kid say it's boring and walk away, because that's the only thing they know how to communicate. They want more. They what has been handed to them is not enough. And so that coach isn't creative enough, or doesn't see that, hasn't gotten that feedback, isn't aware of it, whatever it is, but you are. And so the place is, ask them questions is a way for you to lead them to what you're thinking without telling them. It allows them to think they made the decision.
Yes.
But what about, he says, like, my knee hurts, like you ask this question, you don't want to be part of the team. And he's like, but my knee hurts.
Then I would look at him and say, hey, there's 10 minutes to go left in the championship game. Are you going to come out because your knee hurts? So why would you do it now? And I would see what his answer is. Because we all, we all
for 2 years.
we all have that thing like, oh, I can't do this, I'm tired. Well, if I really loved to do it, I would do it. I've done it all the time. Like I've done much less being way more tired. And so we can recognize an excuse for what it is, but then also share with them, hey, how much is this? What is more valuable to you? Walking away from this, or maybe learning something? Right? Yeah. Is this knee going to do? So I kind of fall into all of your places, but I kind of come from a different place. But boredom is really a depth issue.
I love that. I've never heard about it, and it's really powerful, because I get bored sometimes.
And that's the reason we never do. That's the whole reason why we're here.
Yeah.
Because this isn't.
Yeah. I get always bored, so I get that.
Yep. Cool.
But
Jared has no idea what we're talking about.
Jared, I wanted to,
I love
a little bit say where this came from. I was asking a bit, as a parent with my kid, and in this particular situation, it was about him not wanting to do the online football training that is going on at the moment because of Corona for just 10 days, really. It's the last day actually today. And he was, finding all sorts of excuses not to do that. And I was talking about in specifically that situation, but also in general about how do we as parents, share some values with our kids, in the sense of, like Dean said as well, it's not just about you, it's about the team, it's about your coach that is, making the effort to still keep everything going in this time. And if nobody shows up, it's no fun for them. And it's, and it's also, and at the same time, when he was kind of going on and on and on about all the great excuses he had that his knee was hurting and he had too much homework and blah, blah, blah. I sort of at some kind of gave up and said, hey, you know what? You've heard what I get, what I am seeing here, and it's your choice. And I was feeling for myself that when I said this, I wasn't totally saying, hey, it's totally your choice and go and choose whatever you choose and I'll be fine with it. And I was, being aware of that and wondering, how do we again share certain values with them and still let them totally make their choice and own it as well, and not be and that I don't judge that or don't expect something and don't sort of and now he has chosen to do it, he's just doing it next door, and I just, in a way, I don't know, is he doing it really because he chose that, or is he doing it because I made him feel guilty enough and now he's doing it. So that was the, I wanted to, and I love everything that you guys have all said. And I was just wondering, what is your experience as parent and as clearly as well, not parents, but coach, and having lots of experience in that area as well. So thank you so much, Dean. And cool.
When I was a kid, I would like that my mother and father were a little bit more determined about me having some sport or physical activity in my life, because they were like, okay, if you want, you go. If you don't want, don't go. That's like from one standpoint, kind of okay. You can choose this or that, but I was a kid, and kids cannot choose
wisely.
Wisely, yes, in a lot of situations. So I consider physical activity so much important for every phase of our lives, and if we do that as kids, we will probably have bigger chance to get that habit in our grown-up lives. I've started to exercise with 37 years. So a lot of quality in my life would be probably higher if I exercised my whole life. If I had that guidance from my parents to be active, to choose activity over sitting, playing video games, going to the coffee shops, or driving a car,
Yeah.
So be there for.
I totally came from the reasons why athletics are important, and I think there's wonderful rules there, but athletics are also, really the competition with yourself and looking at positive things. And even one of the things that I worked on with my teams was the idea of visualization and creating the flow to get it before you got into a race. And so it really incorporates a lot of this. But my parents also believed that busy kids are kids that stay out of trouble. And just, I think, didn't want us lying around the house or watching TV and playing games all the time. And so I think that, if a kid is not about that, and once a kid sort of understands that when they want to go play on that team, there comes a responsibility around that, right? Like, you don't give up on that team. You've committed to that team for the year. You don't give up on that commitment. You stick it out. You figure out a way to make it palatable, enjoyable, whatever. I don't believe in sentencing someone to the chain gang to do sports, but also there's like, you can do this, or you can go to dance class, or something.
Yeah, I totally see that. And in that case, I mean, again, like when it's a real training outside on the field, there's never a discussion.
Right.
No matter the weather, no matter how much homework, and no matter how much he's run at school already in the morning. I mean, there's never a discussion. And that's why, when suddenly the thing came with my knee hurts, I'm like, really? Or, how badly is it really? Because if it was a real training outside today, I'm pretty sure you wouldn't come up with that. So
if it was fun the whole time, everybody would do it, right? And
Yeah.
this is like, if you want to do this, here are the things, the prices that you pay, right?
Mm-hmm.
And one is showing up and listening to a coach, whether you like him, agree with him, want to do whatever else, right? This is part of what we've got to pay to do this. And understanding consequences and cause and effect and responsibilities and whatever is a huge part of what athletics and commitments are about. And it doesn't happen in math class.
Yeah, of course.
I mean, unless you guys teach math different in Germany, but
I don't think so. Jared, you're smiling. Is there something you want to
What's
share?
your take, Jared, on this?
So much here. And like what I'm receiving from all of this is that kids, people in general need to be doing something, you know, that's where the opportunity comes from. And then I'm going through like my kids, and like I resonate towards the endurance and solo sports. I'm assuming that's because I wasn't able to play team sports, like official team sports growing up. And we played a lot of volleyball. And so, you know, we had a team, but we weren't like it wasn't a regulation. It wasn't nothing like that. And so I was able to start the solo sports. And so now my kids are like, my son is going to be signing up for football when it starts. And this Friday, both of them, I'm so proud, so excited, is going to be their first Muay Thai class with me.
Nice.
And like, that's very much a solo sport. And I explained to him last night, I'm like, you're going to be over on this side of the class, and I'm going to be on this side. Like, there's space between us. You're going to have to follow the coach. You can't come to me. And he's like, my son, so if I'm thirsty, I ask him. I'm like, no, he will tell you when to take a drink. Like, you train with ring time. You know, you're going to be doing like 3 minutes on and then 30 minutes off, and then 3 minutes on and then 30 minutes off. And like, you'll start like jumping rope for like 10 minutes. He's like, oh, fun. I'm like, no, for 3 minutes. It won't be fun at minute 9. And
minute 1 and 2,
choose to continue. And I just love, like last night, my son and I, so I jumped inside the pool. Like, that's like, it's 50 degrees or so. It's an ice bath. So after shower, everything, I just wanted my body needed it. So I jumped inside the pool and I asked him, like, you want to come? Yeah. And so I jump in, and then he's taking all his clothes off, and then he comes and is like, shall I do it? I'm like, jump in, bud. Like, the dogs are going nuts. Jump in. So he jumps in and he crawls out, and I'm sitting in the water. And he's like, Dad, how do you do that? How do you stay in there? Because it's cold. I'm like, this is the mind. I'm like, this is why when you're doing something that you want to quit, say the pool, you can make the choice to stay in for 5 seconds longer. You can make the choice to try to jump rope 2 more rounds. You can make the choice to do something to push a little bit longer. And
even if your knee hurts.
Even if your knee hurts, you just have to be able to recognize that you're the one making the choice. And sports can be such a marvelous tool for this. And that transcends all areas of life then.
And I think we missed one thing here that is also important. And Marie, that is the same reason we went to YouTube, is to share the example. And, to me, be the person you want your son to become. And to me, that's, it makes me tear up, because I would love to be a parent, and that's what would drive me. I would want to be better for my kid, be the thing I want my kids to be, and give them that example, because that's where they learn it. I remember as a kid, my mother went with my sister to the pharmacy or something, and my father, stuck with his firstborn, said, hey, it's just us guys. Oh my God, it's us guys. This is so cool. Like, he just was like stuck with a kid, probably. I don't know. But it's one of my earliest memories. And we made Vienna sausages, because that's probably all he knew how, but us guys ate Vienna sausages together, and I remember it always. And so the memories that kids take away are not, let's sit down and have a talk, son, right? Like those are not, if you look at what your own childhood memories, they're grabbed and seen from that point of that example. And that was the example that, that just this took away of, he talked to me like a man. I was 3 years old and just kind of knew what that was. And so you are the example for your son. And that's the most, nothing else we said really matters as much as that one. And he's going to be
when you go to the lake and plunge, Mary, I'm like, maybe this could be an experience for him to experience with you, to like come with you and see that really you don't want to go there, but you're pushing yourself, and then you're so rewarded by the mind over the body to have succeeded to like push yourself.
Yeah.
Yeah, explain it to him.
Yeah. He knows I'm doing this every Thursday, and every Thursday when I complain about doing it, or I say, oh my God, look at this weather, and he says, why are you doing it? I said, well, because I know it's great. And he's, so they're getting some energy of that for sure.
Yeah.
Awesome.
And, cool.
I can remember when exactly what you said, Dean, when I realized that, and I'm like, oh boy, I'm not living up to the bar. Like I'm setting it very low. I've got to step up.
Yeah.
That's
got to be hard, my friend.
Well, it was a hard truth, but it
Yes.
was a truth.
Yes.
I wasn't. I was just getting by. Like, sadly, a lot of people do.
Mhm.
Yeah.
And like the last, I think it was the last 50K that I ran around the house. I was doing loops. I started at like 3 a.m. And the last loop, Hayden came out and ran with me. And I loved it because like, I didn't know if I was going to be quitting. I knew that I could quit, that I had done 50K at that point. And that was the goal. And I'm like, my body's in pain. I'm running on the road the entire time, not wise. And I'm hurting. And I was dehydrated and I was limping and I was like hobbling. And I was proud the fact that he got to see me suffer. And in fact, he got to see me in pain, but there was no suffering. I was enjoying it. And I'm like, okay, I've came a long ways. I'm not that dad anymore.
Yeah.
And it's a beautiful gift to have those kids like realizing, okay, like it doesn't matter what we say, they're really taking our example by what we're doing. And so when it's like, yeah, I really want to stay in bed today, but no, like I have to live up to I have to push myself, and just knowing this, put like plays, like right now I was realizing recently that I wasn't playing enough, that I was really losing and being so serious. And so I'm starting playing a lot more because I think it helps so much when we're adult to lighten up and just to be playful. And I'm like doing, like we did a pizza competition with M&Ms this week with my husband, like what? Like, it was just the greatest time with the kids tasting a pizza with M&Ms. I'm like, no, mom is winning. Yeah. and it was ridiculous, but it was so playful. And I, from an experience like this, I'm like, yeah, it's important for them to remember that this will be important when they're adults. And so it makes that the bar that you have to put is high, and it's beautiful.
The ultimate accountability buddies.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I like what you've said, Jared, that they should see us in our best and in our worst when we are in pain and are still willing to do something because our beliefs, because the outcome we want and expect from ourselves, and really growing up into being a better, bigger person. And that's amazing. And when you said that, actually, I started to think, do I do that with my daughter? And the answer is not enough, because all the stuff I have to do, I tend to do that when she's not around, because I have more focus and everything, and when I'm with her, I want to be with her, blah blah, but it has to be shown to them. And a few days ago, we went to a water park, and after water park, we got back. I made a dinner and blah blah. It was 8:30 p.m. and I was tired as hell, and I lied on a couch and remember that I have to do another training, 45 minutes, because I'm in a 75 hard challenge, and I was I was not able to do real training, and she is here with me, so I cannot go out and run or walk or drive the bike, it's out of the question. And I've decided to walk along my living room.
You did 50K in your living room? You did 50K in your living room?
No, just 45 minutes. It was like 3 times, Daddy, why do you do that? And I said, I promised to myself that I'm gonna do that, and you can go with me if you want. So she, during those 45 minutes, she got with me 2 or 3 times, been with me for a minute and get back to her stuff, but I was really happy to be able to show her that I do something I don't like to do at that moment, but I do something that is bigger than that moment.
You show commitment. You show what commitment is.
Yes.
Beautiful stuff.
Yeah.
I miss the chaos that children bring.
Do you want mine? I can ship them right now.
Send them over.
For free.
I mean, if it's a gift for you, it will be a gift for me. Just
send them on a visit to Uncle Dean's house for a week.
Yeah.
A week? Okay. When are you available?
Marie, come on. Miro, Jared, you guys all go to Costa Rica. I'll hang out here with all the kids.
Dean,
that's something that I feel like I was interrupting. That's something that people, this generation doesn't do very often. Like it used to be, where I'm not meaning boarding school, but kids spent time away from their home, their structured, their routines, their family, what they knew, and spent time with the grandparents or working, helping the uncle, at harvest time or something.
Yeah. Yes.
And now everything is programmed. The kids used to just play, right? We went out the door and we didn't come home until we heard my dad's whistle, and then we ran.
Yeah.
You didn't go slowly. It means you were overdue. And run home, but they didn't know where we are. They didn't know where we were. They just go play. Go get out, go play.
Yes.
And now everything is so programmed. It amazes me, and it's one of the reasons why programmed athletics is all the more important, because one of the things that is missing from children is conflict resolution. When you're making up a game, right, with 6 neighbors, you're going to have a conflict, a rules conflict. And then it's okay, well, we'll spin around 3 times and whoever falls down first wins, right? Whatever that is. And kids in the program where everything's arranged carefully for them and everybody gets the ribbon, there just isn't that social interaction of conflict resolution as well. And so at least in sort of prescribed sports or organized sports, there is some level of that.
There are rules that someone decides instead of them and says what they should and shouldn't do. And they're like, in the beginning, they're like, why? I want to do that this way. But really soon they start to follow and they stop deciding and thinking. They just follow the rules. And that's the biggest problem of our society.
I mean, it's important to like know how to follow, but it's important to know how to resolve conflict and like
and just play.
Find your own solutions.
Create your own rules.
Yeah.
Create your own, and find and experiment and find your own what works, right, for you and for the people.
Decisions here is a really important skill.
But knowing how much the parents in this group trust their kids, right? Like aren't worried about them. That's go outside and figure it out.
Mm-hmm.
That's what
I
that
have
is.
so many times my kids come to me, I mean, always, and now they're starting to finally figure it out, but they're like, yeah, Andrew did that. And I'm like, well, it sounds like you need to talk to him. Like I didn't do it. And he's like, yeah, but I'm like, yeah, wrong person. You need to talk to that guy. And so, and it's really funny because they're like, but, and I'm like, and so then they're like, Andrew, when you did this, I felt sad. And so Andrew is like, oh, okay, and they just resolve it. Like I taught them that you have to state the fact and say how it made you feel without attacking the other. And just this is like, they're like better communicators than most of us
adults.
Crazy.
Yes.
I do think part of this started with the not like going out to play and needing to program everything is when everybody in the household went to work, nobody knows their neighbors anymore, right? Like you used to know your neighbor, you had a neighborhood. And we don't have neighborhoods anymore. We have houses that are next to each other. And so I think that was the precursor to this. We need to set up a play date with somebody that lives 4 blocks away because we don't know anybody around us.
Yeah.
Well, and we used to know the consequences of our actions. And now all of these rules are meant so that, you never have to touch that. And what happens? These rules breed bullies because they breed weak people that haven't done any conflict resolution. I mean, it used to be a standard thing that, all right, son got a black eye. Did you resolve it? Like,
And I was like, I'm going to send my lawyer. Because, like,
exactly. Yes. I'm going to call, like, I got to call that that boy's mom. Like, I got to go have a word with her, no, boys be boys.
Mm-hmm.
Quick story. My sister's English teacher sent a note home to my mother that said, Caroline is not doing her English homework. Can you talk to her? And my mother said, sure. She's also not taking out the trash. Can you talk to her about that?
There is a beautiful joke here in my country about that, like dad who is not well educated went to the school to see how his kid is going on, what is going on in his school, and the teacher said teacher actually called him, and he went there and said, what's going on? And she said, your son is really bad at math. And he said, okay, how does that relate with me? Like, this is your son. And he said, does my son comes in school every day? Yes. Is he polite? Yes. Is he on time? Yes. So my job is done. Math is your job. Please do that. Like
You're the teacher. Teach him.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, exactly. That's a really good story.